Hello friend, it's applesauce season. I thought that last year we canned enough applesauce to last me for 2 years, but turns out my kids are getting bigger, we've added a member to our family, and so we need to can a little bit to see us over to next fall. At this time of year, some of my local family-owned grocery stores tend to carry large bins of apples. They often come from New York, and so you can buy in bulk from these bins, and it's a good way to get a lot of apples at once. So these are Cortland apples. I've purchased a bushel to turn into applesauce this morning.
Mama? I know you're on Telegram. I only just learned what that is.
The only guy I follow is on
Okay.
He's the Jewish half.
It's the place that Daddy and I used to live before you were born.
Used to live in this.
I don't know if
Now that the apples have been washed, we're just removing the top stem and that bottom blossom end. So we found that this works best actually with a tomato corer. It might not seem intuitive, but you can sort of scoop it in and get this circular chunk out, and I've just found this to be much faster and nicer than trying to use a knife.
Mama, I did
Jamie,
it!
how about you're getting it? Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I really just didn't want her underfoot. I don't care about her missing school.
For John
can.
It's nice video last night. I sent it to my siblings because
Next, the apples are quartered. Getting them into smaller pieces just helps them cook faster when they go over the heat. We don't worry about peeling the apples or removing the core or the seeds. The food mill will be able to sort that out. So I really don't enjoy peeling things. I am happy to skip that step.
Isn't that cool? Your body just heals. Good job, bud.
Did you know I could cut?
Look at that. Hey.
And Grandma, do you know that I could cut?
yes, I see that.
Can I have Jimmy,
Now,
Jimmy, cook. Can you cut one for me? Sure. I was like, Jimmy, cook. Could you cut one for me? This is the Apple store. If you like. Oh, this is easiest because it's a mushy apple.
Ooh, my favorite.
Finally, when all the apples have been quartered, they go into a large pot, and then my dad likes to use this metal spatula to just break them down a little bit further. Then I add in a quart of water to keep the bottom from sticking, or to keep the apples from sticking to the bottom of the pot and burning, and then they're ready to go onto the heat.
Set it right on
2,
here.
3. Now you know
Right
that's
on
really
here.
hot, right? So we're not going
Right
to
on
touch
here.
it. Okay, Martha, we'll finish pouring.
There.
There.
Can I cut? Did you see this?
Everybody enjoys a slower pace while the apples are on the heat. It takes them about half an hour to break down to a point where they're soft enough to go through the food mill. So at this point, everybody sits around and talks, and we just make sure to stir the pot every few minutes because it can ruin the batch to have things burn and stick to the bottom.
Cordons.
Smells good.
Oh, yeah.
Don't use the sound.
Finally, the apples are ready to come off the heat and go through the food mill. I've been looking forward to this point because my food mill is brand new. I put it together yesterday, and so I'm really eager to see how it works. I've never owned a food mill before. I've always done this applesauce making at my parents' house. So it's fun to get to do this on my own and learn the process and take ownership a little bit. For the kids, the most coveted job was being the masher. Everybody wanted to hold this white pestle and push the cooked apples down into the machine.
One more turn back over there. All right.
push it down this way. You push it over.
Jamie, you're gonna take turns. You will have a turn when she's done. Here. Mom told me they were at Country View.
When we'd finished running all the apples through the food mill, this waste went to the chickens. It was perfect. They loved those scraps. Finally, it was time to can the applesauce. I had about 14 quarts of applesauce here, but I decided to can just 12 and leave the rest for some good fresh eating. When I looked at recipes for canning applesauce, I looked at the Ball recipe and also a recipe by the National Center for Home Food Preservation. The Ball recipe called for lemon juice and the National Center for Home Food Preservation did not. I'm guessing the call for lemon juice is because apples vary so widely in their acidity, and so it's just a precautionary measure. I decided to go with the Center for Home Food Preservation recipe and omit the lemon juice. This did taste on the tart side, so I'm guessing these are slightly more acidic, and so I'm glad to be able to leave out lemon juice. That would just make them even more tart.
So pretty. Look at that. Uh-oh, they need more water.
The applesauce needed 20 minutes to process in the canner, which gave us some more downtime to relax.
Tricked ya. There. Yes, baby.
As soon as these were done, I started taking them out of the canner, and then I noticed that one of the jars was siphoning. Some applesauce was oozing out of it. And I remembered that I usually give my jars 5 minutes with the lid off to cool down a bit before I take them out. So I paused a few minutes before taking out the rest of the jars, and everything looked good from there on out. Actually, that one jar that oozed a bit still ended up sealing, so all 12 sealed.
Well, I know it probably would have been easier to just be at your house than for you guys to cart everything, but I'm glad.
With the applesauce finished, the last job of the day was to take these scraps, the tops and the bottoms of the apples, and turn them into apple scrap vinegar. I've never made this before, and I've been wanting to give it a try. We use a lot of apple cider vinegar, and I have the scraps, so why not put them to good use? So I'm working with some half-gallon jars here, and each jar got a pound of scraps, apple scraps, and then a cup of sugar, followed by a half cup of raw unfiltered vinegar, apple cider vinegar. And then finally these jars are filled to the top with filtered water, and I gave them a stir, and they need to be covered and set on the counter, and they'll be out for the next 5 days. I'll give them a little stir every day and watch them ferment. Thanks for joining me for Applesauce Day. I'm happy to add these jars to my pantry shelf and know that they'll tide us through until next year. I love my new food mill, so if you're interested in getting one, I'll put a link down below for it, and I look forward to sharing more with you next week. Until then, bye.